Today, I really want to talk about the immune system as your body's operating system. And a couple of principles we want to talk about is resilience, which is one of the most important features of any system that survives and succeeds, is the ability for it to take a hit and then come back stronger than it was. And natural systems, man-made systems which survive, really have this property of resilience. So we're going to go over that. And then we're going to really talk about in a very brief way, and we can do longer discussions about how the immune system is really your operating system. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you really study the history of biology and the history of the essential aspects of the immune system, what you'll find is that the immune system is really your operating system. Your body, when your immune system is in homeostasis, which means it's operating on all cylinders, essentially takes care of all the other systems above it. I hope that makes sense. So when your immune system is in good shape, the rest of your body takes care of itself, okay? That is called homeostasis. So one of the properties of systems is that they have a set point where your system likes to operate at. And if you're, be it your physical body, be it your computer, be it your car, all of these systems in the universe have a particular point where they're operating in an optimal way. And that's what your body wants to do in a natural way, and that's where you want to get your body to. In traditional systems of Indian medicine, or Chinese medicine, but in Indian medicine, that was called your prakriti. But to put it simply, from an engineering standpoint, we would call it your body's natural system state. You know, think about the times when you felt great, right? You're eating all the right foods, you're happy, you're in the right environment. Your body just is, you don't even have to think about it, right? Your body's, all of its systems are working properly. That's what I mean by homeostasis. Well, as we've talked about, in order to get your body to homeostasis, you need to fuel it with the right ingredients, with the right inputs, and then your body can stay on track. Now, by the way, what I'm sharing with you is no different than an engineering system. So consider you're a pilot and you have to fly from Boston to San Francisco. Well, during that flight, that you want to maintain a certain directional path. That's the homeostasis, in that case, that you want to stay on. Well, there are many types of disturbances that may come. You may get winds, you may get different kinds of, one of the things I got to do very quickly, or I'm going to lose juice here. Just give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, here. I'm going to just connect my juice up here. So when that airplane is flying from point A to point B, what will occur is there are many things that come in the way of that airplane, which are the disturbances, right? You could have rain, you could have gale, you could have wind, and what happens? The pilot or the autopilot makes minor adjustments, whether it's elevation, whether it's speed. These are inputs that keep that plane on track. By the way, most airplanes during a trip are 99% off track, but they're making minor adjustments to keep that plane on target. And this is no different than what you want to learn to do with your body, or what we used to intuitively know. Your body has a homeostasis, and you're cognizant of it through your awareness, through your observing yourself, and you're making minor adjustments. Weather changes, you go on a long flight, you have stresses in your family. So as long as you're keeping in check, you make these minor adjustments to keep your body back in homeostasis. And if you do that, your body will take care of itself. So when it comes to the immune system, it's really the operating system of your body. If you take care of that, your body comes in check. So in this time of the coronavirus fear-mongering, where everyone's at home, as I keep saying, it's a really important point to start reflecting on how we make sure that this never occurs again. When I say this, that we don't get caught into this fear-mongering, and we have our own resilience and strength to be confident, to understand that, you know, our body wants to be healthy. And there are 380 trillion viruses in our body. There's nearly 60 trillion microbe across the 6 trillion cells that we have. So when we look at it, our body has learned how to survive for many, many millennia, whether you believe in natural design or evolution, whatever it is, the body was designed to survive in these circumstances. By and large, what affects that is either our choices that we make or external circumstances, right? The politicians and the lobbyists and the lawyers we elect who actually destroy our air, water, and food. Well, those things can have definitive effects on genetic damage, etc., right? But by and large, we have a huge opportunity to control our health by the choices we make, people who you elect into office, policymakers, and what we put inside us, etc. So, as I've shared, the immune system has multiple components: the innate immune system, the interferon system, the microbiome, the gut-brain axis, which connects to your neural system, and the adaptive system. All of these systems attempt to maintain you in homeostasis. So what is the goal of, what is a strong immune system? Is a strong immune system where you quarantine someone, where you give people antibacterial soap, or you hide your kids from playing out in dirt, and you essentially wash and wipe down anything? Is that what we call a way to build a resilient immune system? Do you build a strong body, but being on the couch, not doing anything, essentially protecting your body, living in a little bubble? Probably not, okay? Unless you're some other kind of super being. But by and large, if you do those things, in the case of the immune, you're actually hurting your immune system because you're never stressing it. And we're going to talk about that. Same with if you don't stress your body with exercise. So one of those aspects is called stress inoculation. So let me give you a couple of slides here just to make this a little bit interesting. So I gave a talk, we have a whole, by the way, let me just come back to video here. I have studied the human body and have created a whole new way of looking at it through an engineering approach, which I can teach anyone. And that's the basis of a whole set of courses I have called Systems Health, which developed after my Fulbright work. I used to teach at MIT, and I've made it a course offering, and we're trying to figure out how to make it accessible to all of you very shortly. But the bottom line is your body is a system, and the body has principles. And you don't have to go to medical school to understand those principles. In fact, a lot of MDs have gone through this course where you can really start understanding how your body is a system and the engineering principles. But one of those principles is resilience, is a resilience of your body. So if you go here and we really look at this concept, what is resilience? Well, one way to think about it is use it or lose it. Okay, so again, those people are on Instagram. This will be up there on IGTV, but the slide really says use it or lose it. That's a good way to look at resilience. And to understand that, we need to understand what stress is. Hans Selye was known as the father of stress, and he discovered, he was doing experiments in a lab, and he was going to inject a rat with something, and he found out that when he took one of the rats out of the cage and he dropped the rat started running around, and when he was chasing the rat around, that rat got stressed. It got peptic ulcers, it got enlarged adrenal glands, and it got shrunken immune systems. In fact, the other rats watching him chase around this other rat also got peptic ulcers because they were also stressed out, enlarged adrenal glands, and shrunken immune systems. So that's what stress does to your body. You can get ulcers, enlargement of the adrenal glands, and shrunken immune systems. And these stressors can make you sick. And by the way, the term stress is not a medical term. It's an engineering systems term. All right? So where does that come from? Well, when I studied, in my master's in mechanical engineering, I have a degree. My undergraduate is in electrical engineering, computer science, but I also did a degree in mechanical engineering, my master's, and that was really to understand materials. We used to look at composite materials like the wings of the, what the materials of an aircraft wing are made of, or cement that's used on the roads, diamond. And when you look at these materials, those materials can undergo two types of stresses. One type of stress, by the way, is called the tensional stress, stress coming from the sides, and the other is shear stress. And here's a way of looking at it. So there's two types of mechanical forces. If you were to take a class on this, the compressional tensional stress or the shear stress. And this is the notion of engineering stress. And then if you take a course in stress mechanics at a place like at an engineering school like MIT or others, you'll understand a very, very interesting concept that materials, when you want to measure their strength, if you want to start pulling them apart, they'll have a point where you can pull them apart and they bounce back like a rubber band. You pull them apart and they bounce back. If you pull it apart too much, it'll change its structure, which means you won't be able to come back. And if you pull it beyond that, it fractures. And a good way of looking at that is this diagram right here, okay? Very simply put, you can put a strain on it, which is pull it, and this is a stress, and the stress of this object, expands, and at a certain point you can fracture it. So you have to be careful how much you stress something. You don't want to stress it too much, but it needs a certain amount of stress. So this would be when you come to the immune system. Imagine if you live in a pristine environment and you never see anyone, you're quarantined, no one ever sees you, you don't touch anyone. That's one kind of position where you're not stressing the system. The other thing is you're living in slums, constantly being stressed all the time, constantly being attacked by many, let's say, pathogens and viruses, and your body never has a chance to recover. That's where you can quote unquote fracture. That's the concept of a stress that goes to the extreme. All right? Now, resilience, there's various definitions. Resilience is defined as here's various definitions: the ability of your body that has been subjected to an external force to recover its shape and size following deformation. That's from McGraw-Hill. A measure of a body's resistance to deformation. The ability to recover quickly from illness, change, or misfortune. And the next one is the ability to adapt in the face of trauma, adversity, tragedy, or even significant ongoing stressors. So what I'm trying to say is that strength is, can you take a hit and can you come back to where you were, or can you come back even stronger? That's a measure of resilience. So if you start working out physically, and you're not a couch potato, initially you may feel some pain the first day, the next day less pain, you get stronger and stronger. That's the concept of resilience. So this concept comes into the immune system also. If we go back here, just to take this little to define this, the key features of a resilient system are spare capacity, flexibility, the ability to change, evolve, and adapt in the face of a disaster, limited or safe failure, rapid rebound, right? Constant learning with robust feedback loops. And in the field of neuroscience, people have studied resilience, your ability of your body to take a stress, and this is one of the earliest papers in Nature Neuroscience that came. And in this paper, what you find is the discussion here is humans exhibit a remarkable degree of resilience in the face of extreme stress, with most resisting the development of different types of disorders. This was looking at the area of neuropsychiatric disorders, but the point is that your body is designed to take a hit and come back stronger and stronger and stronger. It's designed for that, provided you support it with the right foods and the right environment. So that's the point I want to make. We're not, our body's not some weakling, okay? So if we go back here and we really explore this a little bit further, one of the important things that this research showed, if you look at this, there are 4 aspects of what they call stress inoculation to get the body resilient. So how do you get the body resilient? So there's 3 things, whether it's your immune system or your psychological system. One is, your genetics. That's one part of it. That's not everything. Then we have epigenetics. What the recent research that came out of 2003 with the study of the Human Genome Project is, you're not just your genes. Genes can be turned on or off, and that's called epigenetics. And the third thing, and listen very carefully, is stress inoculation. Stress inoculation. What that means is your body needs to be stressed. So this diagram best exhibits that. So in this paper that came out, you have genetics, which are your body's ability to generate certain types of proteins that are important for managing stress. Stress inoculation, where you're actually training your stuff to early life experiences. For example, were you around dirt, or did you get exposed to viruses when you were young and pathogens? This is called resilience therapy. And the third is epigenetics. All these 3 things, if you see right here on the bottom, reads to resilience, stress, active coping, and increased fitness. Okay? So again, coming back here, your genetics, your stress inoculation, which means inoculating your body with stress. Those stresses could be exercise. Those stresses could be exposure to viruses, exposure to bacteria, and epigenetics, which is what you do to your body to support your genetic framework. What foods you eat, what exercises you do, what environment you're exposed to. So just think about that for a second. That we're talking about this triangle of inoculating yourself with stress, getting enough you have this certain amount of genetic makeup, but you can make that up in many ways. It's not all or nothing. So in this case, your genetics can be supported with stress inoculation or epigenetics to achieve this thing called stress resilience. Okay, and in the area of neurobiological stress, what they've noticed is things like adaptogens. Okay, so we're really looking at a particular a neuron here, and what you can see is if you take adaptogens, your body will actually release this neuropeptide Y, and neuropeptide Y supports subsystems in your body that you actually get resilience. So what are adaptogens? Well, adaptogens are those things that come from certain adaptogenic herbs. So for example, ashwagandha, ginseng. There are a whole variety of herbs, and in fact, if you inoculate yourself with stress, that also releases these neuropeptide Ys. So neuropeptide Y is something that supports, we're looking at psychological stress. And similarly, there are things for immune stress. So bottom line is there's a chemical and a biological basis that your body wants to be stressed, okay? And by the way, what you're seeing here, it's a very interesting curve. So I want to use this word, stress inoculation. Okay, we've talked about, the big pharma guys want to inoculate us with their vaccines, with aluminum and mercury. But the aspect of inoculating yourself with a stress, that stress could be you go lift weights, you run, you are exposed to sort of wacky people in your office, you learn how to become resilient over them, or you're exposed to pathogens. And that pathogen exposure gets you stronger, assuming that you're properly feeding your body and you're not immunocompromised. Okay? The key is if you're not weak and immunocompromised over a lifetime of not exposing yourself, hiding yourself, or not giving yourself the right nutrients. But what you see in this very interesting research that they did in the field of neurobiology here is that here is the normal person. Okay? This is this dark line. And if you stress inoculate yourself, which is the dotted lines, two things can occur. A, you get better performance, which means for the same amount of stress, you get higher performance. That's this curve, this dot. Or for higher levels of stress, you get increased performance, okay? So what's amazing about this is what this is saying is that your body wants to be stress inoculated. That your body wants to be stress inoculated. In fact, there's some very interesting data that has been shown that when people have been, for example, during the Spanish flu times, the military actually did some very interesting experiments, and this is out there in the literature, and I'm going to do a special talk just on this, where they took people who had the flu and exposed them, and took, let's say, X number of people had the flu, same number of people who didn't have it, and literally took the mucus and all what may sound very disgusting and gave it to the other people. You know what? They didn't get sick. The second thing they did was they took these same people and injected these things into them. They didn't get sick. And the third group, they had people talk among each other and they didn't get sick. I'm going to share this shortly. What's fascinating is that you have to really wonder this whole thing about, social distancing, don't expose people. Is that in fact correct? Maybe that's true if the person is not resilient. Not for people who are strong, who are not immunocompromised. Just like what this is showing here, that you actually improve performance when you get exposed. Okay? So what Fauci is doing out there, and the entire pharma industry is based on fear-mongering and ignorance. Through fear and ignorance led by Fauci, is that the entire economic policy of the United States is being driven. So big pharma, in collusion with the big banks, is doing one of the biggest frauds in the history of the United States, for that matter, globally. Because when I talk about the big pharma, I'm talking about the deep state of elites and the Chinese government, in my view. Because if you look at the history of this, they had a deep intention to want to not play fair with the U.S. India's economy, one of the biggest democracies, was going at 6 to 7%. The U.S.'s economy was growing at around 2%. Well, what's happened right now is that India is at 2% and the United States is heading at negative 3%. That's what we're going after. okay? And what we have to be reminded of in this model is that who does this benefit? The fear-mongering and the ignorance. That's what's taking place right now. And it's based on this complete lack of understanding. And by the way, whatever mainstream media, the New York Times, frankly, the idiots who write for that, it's become one of the most degenerative newspapers. They don't question Fauci on it. As many of you know, I hit Fauci very, very hard on this matter. But what we have is the lack of understanding of the system. I'm just going to make sure this is working okay. Close. Okay, there we go. There's a fundamental lack of understanding of how the body actually works. The body's immune system wants to be inoculated, the operating system. That's what I wanted to share with you here. So it's very similar when it comes to materials. When people used to make swords, when people made these very amazing Japanese swords, they would heat it in high temperature, stress it, and then they would cool it. Stress it and cool it. Stress it and cool it. Your body wants to be stressed. That's my point, okay? It doesn't want to be always protected. Stress and cool. This is also true in materials, even physical materials. By the way, if you do yoga, you will notice in typical yoga, you will do, for example, Trikonasana, which is the triangle pose, or you will do standing poses, and then you'll do Shavasana, which is the lying poses. And most of the yoga systems, you'll be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What does this mean? You're stressing your body. It's being the warrior monk. You stress and you meditate. Stress and you meditate. So this is a very, very important feature that Fauci, frankly, is either too stupid or has never thought about or does know and wants to mislead people. But remember, he's Pharma Fauci. But the fundamentals of the immune system are, the fundamentals of our body system are you stress it, you relax it. Stress it, you relax it. Doesn't mean you want to live in slums all day, around people who are horribly sick all the time because you get stressed out. Doesn't mean you're supposed to live in a pristine environment. There's a balance, and that homeostasis, that balance varies from individual to individual. That's why it's very important to find out what's right for you. So one of the things that I believe as a part of health is one size does not fit all. We need to go to personalization. One size does not fit all. And if you think about what the pharma industry wants to do, what Fauci wants to do, Pharma Fauci, is put everyone on the same vaccine schedule. That's what CDC wants to do. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your resilience. They want to put you all your kids on the 30 mandated vaccines. They want to give everyone this new COVID vaccine, which is supposed to heal us, which is not going to heal us fundamentally. It's not going to support the immune system long term. What we need to do to support the immune system is figure out what works for you. Now, there's some fundamentals that I've talked about. Well, two things. Well, we need the sun, the UVB radiation. Think about vitamin D as literally as a weapon, a gun. And when vitamin D goes into your body, vitamin D, to correct myself, your body produces, as I've shared in the videos that you can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, these cathelicidins. These cathelicidins are literally bullets, and those bullets can pierce and lice the walls of bacteria, the walls of viruses, the walls of fungi, etc. So vitamin D is like your gun, and the bullets that vitamin D creates through a series of chemical processes, you can look at the vitamin D video, allows you to take out, it's an antimicrobial, okay, this system. Okay, so that's important. We've talked about vitamin A, how vitamin A supports the building of the walls, okay, the cytokeratin. Vitamin A is important. Vitamin C supports the modulation of the immune system. And this is what I put in my recommendation to President Trump, how we can get the economy back by partitioning people, but really talking about this principle of one size does not fit all. Fauci and the pharma industry believe one size does fit all. And this is where the world is moving to, is supposed to move to. The future of medicine, which has always been here, is personalized medicine. And what that means is the right medicine for the right person at the right time. The right medicine for the right person at the right time. I repeat, the right medicine for the right person at the right time. So we want stuff that's safe and effective. In order to do that, we need to take a systems approach. Many of you know that if you go to Your Body, Your System, which is a tool that I created out of a lot of hard work, around 30 years of research after I did my Fulbright, I literally married engineering systems theory. Unfortunately, the medical doctors are all victims of a horrible big pharma medical education system. I can blame them. It's very easy. In fact, I get very annoyed with them, especially the egomaniacs. But fundamentally, these people are victims. The MD is a victim of big pharma. So they don't study the body as a system. So now I've studied the body as an engineering system. I've looked at traditional systems. I married them together to literally enable you. And you don't have to go to medical school for this. It's not really medicine. It's really understanding the body as an engineering system. So if you go to Your Body, Your System, and by the way, anyone who supports our campaign, I'm running for U.S. Senate, and you give 25 or more, I give you a book called Systems in Revolution ebook. Plus, I give you access to that tool, Your Body, Your System, and I'll show you about that. But fundamentally, what Your Body, Your System lets you do is educate you. This is really about education. And you can take a series of questions and it'll figure out in this triangulation, transport, conversion, and storage, the red dot. Now, what is that red dot? Okay, remember I said the airplane has a direction, it has a goal, Boston to San Francisco. Well, your body also has a homeostasis. It too has a direction that it likes to go to. It too has a target. That target is your body's natural system state. This approach, using engineering systems theory integrated with traditional systems of medicine, helps you through these series of questions find in this little dimensional grid, transport is a transport of energy, conversion is a conversion of energy, and storage is a storage of energy. Through these questions, you can figure out your state, and that red dot is your body where it wants to be. The black dot, if you answer a different set of questions, will give you where you are, directionally where you're off. So what it's saying is your body wants to be here. You've been eating crap or you didn't sleep properly or whatever's happening. Your body at that moment in time is off, okay? Just like the airplane is off. And the goal is to bring your body back to itself. Be happy, be you. That's the slogan that we came up with to make it simple. Part of my goal is to make very complex concepts easy. And what you see is these set of questions help you find out your black dot. And through another set of programs, we actually can show you how particular foods and particular inputs, exercises, bring you back here. Now, you should understand that this is a educational tool. You should obviously consult with your medical professional, your healthcare practitioner, but the goal is to teach you that your body is a system. It wants to be at a particular location. So for example, if you are immunocompromised, if you are stressed out, as you age, your body veers from where it wants to be. And the idea is to support it, to bring it back. So that's the goal here. You give your body the right inputs, and your body will support itself. And that's what this diagram really is about. If you look here, what you're seeing here is if your body's off course, you want to be here. This is you, the red dot. You want to bring that black dot here. And there are many, many infinite ways you can do that. This is not it's not something saying that you only have to eat this diet. There are many ways, and this is sort of the art of life. But food is medicine. Exercise supports that. So the goal here is in this entire discourse, two of the inputs that I've recommended to bring your body back, two simple inputs. Well, starting with one, vitamin D, which is the sun. What are they saying? Their input is quarantine us. Their input is to scare us. Well, vitamin D, so you're going to take people in the Northeast, or particularly in the wintertime in the United States, and tell them they shouldn't get enough sun, quarantine them, scare them to keep away from other people, right? But more importantly, we're not giving people the real power of vitamin D. Vitamin D literally is like a soap that literally goes and literally dissolves the membrane of these bacteria, okay? No one is talking about that. No one is even recommending that right now, okay? That's step one. The other thing is vitamin A, which is another input to bring you back to homeostasis, which is you can get it from food. If you can't get it, which is the deep, rich vegetables, the fruits, which are the deep, rich colored ones. Your thyroid, if it's working fine, will convert those into vitamin A. And the vitamin A is an amazing hormone, just like D, which supports many immune functions, which supports you. And one of those functions is to build these cytokeratin walls to support your cell structure, okay? And the third is vitamin C. But let's look at D and A and vitamin C, and to support your thyroid. Again, we're looking at iodine and iodide, which is, again, all in the letter that I wrote to President Trump. But what I'm trying to say is these are very simple things. And by the way, you don't have to believe me. There's been so much research done on this over, nearly 100 years of, clinical research on the power of A, D, and C, and obviously iodine and iodide. So those things, again, to put it all in context, are to bring your body back to homeostasis.